Over the years, the development of sound working practices has helped to make this industry a safer place to work in, yet the number of handling accidents is still far too high. Quite a lot of materials handling training has in fact been done, but for one reason or another, it's apparently not been effective enough. It seems that although collectively we're always ready to complain about the situation, individually we don't seem to get on and do something about it. Well, this film on basic principles, together with others in the series dealing with handling problems in different parts of generation and distribution, takes a fresh look at the problem. We'll be looking at the benefits of taking care of the body and of keeping ourselves reasonably healthy. Also, the need to concentrate on good body posture and balanced, smooth-flowing movement when handling equipment and materials, not just at work, but outside work as well. And of course, the need for a safe system of work. The general message will need the support of instructors during training and of managers and supervisors when it's all being put into practice during day-to-day work. Well, by now, someone should have talked to you about your training needs. In other words, why you're here. You see, it's important for you to be clear about the improvements you should make in your handling methods after training. And that includes this film, discussion on the points being made, and practice on applying the principles. For one thing, you should have a better idea of why we need to concentrate a lot more on safe handling techniques. And you should be better equipped to keep body stress to a minimum in your day-to-day activities. In effect, those are the training objectives for this session. Handling accidents are often the result of bad posture and movement or of mishandling, and in fact, these are closely related. If you take an example from the office, bad posture, or if you like, the way you hold your body, or poor balance, can cause things to be dropped. In turn, the dropping or mishandling can cause sudden muscle damage. Before we examine these problems in more detail, let's take a look at the back and see how it works. The spine is the body's scaffolding. Attached to it are the skull, ribs, pelvis, shoulder blades, arms and legs. The spinal cord, which links the brain to the rest of the body with a network of nerves, lies in the spinal column. This is the body's communication system. The bones of the spine and rib cage are bound together with ligaments, tendons and muscles. They all form the back as a whole. The complex muscle system is responsible for the movement of the spine, supports the neck and the trunk, and allows us to bend and rotate. The movable part of the spine is made up of a number of vertebrae, separated by what are known as discs. Each of these is like a shock absorber, changing shape as the pressure exerted by the vertebrae varies with the movement of the body. The spine comes under considerable strain when you're bending or twisting. And if at the same time you're also lifting or pulling or pushing, then that strain is very much greater. The spine comes under least stress when it's in the natural position. Now basically, what we must all try to do is to keep the strain on the body down to a minimum by using it more wisely in our normal daily activity. On this point, Richard Vaughan talked to Jimmy Saville.
Jim, you've always been interested in keeping fit. You run all these marathons and so on. What's your philosophy towards being healthy?
Well, everybody wants to be healthy. And if you take a group of 1,000 young people, there's 950 of those could still be well healthy when they're 50 and beyond, but 2/3 of them won't be healthy because of the things they've done to themselves. They've lifted things wrongly, they've not looked after their backs or their fronts or the tops or the bottoms, and they all say, oh, I wish I had my time over again, I wouldn't have made this mistake or that mistake. People think that you've got to be like a Seb Coe or a Steve Cram to be healthy. You don't have to go to that extent. You can be healthy a lot easier than that.
How about keeping fit in our everyday lives?
There's all sorts of things. For instance, take sitting in a car. That's a right way and the wrong way. So because you might have to do it a lot, it pays to look at how you're sitting in a car, or weeding the garden. If you do it the wrong way, by bending over and being lazy like that, you'll pay for it. But if you do it the right way, you can go down on one knee or two knees, and if you think about it, you think about the right way and do it, you won't have to pay the price for doing it the wrong way.
At the end of the day, is it really worthwhile taking all that care?
When you're healthy, to start with, sometimes you think it's a waste of time looking after yourself. It's never too early to start, and it's never too late. Because you see, life, how can you say it? It's like a slot machine. If you put don't care in the top, you might get a lousy life out of the bottom. You don't want to be damaging yourself, so don't be stupid. Think about the right way and do it, because it pays off.
Okay, let's now consider body posture and movement. To handle materials safely, we need to know where the body strain is being taken and the best way of handling things in order to cut down that strain. Now, we obviously can't go about our daily work and leisure without placing some strain on the back. What we must do is avoid undue curving or twisting of the spine when we're handling materials or working at a desk or control panel. Of course, some of us have to work in conditions where bending the back is unavoidable, but we'll consider that problem in some of the other films in the series. In any handling activity, large or small, it's essential to make the maximum use of the weight of the body and whatever it is you're moving to produce balanced, smooth movement. Let's look at this first in terms of something fairly straightforward. Moving this box from this position here up onto this shelf. We'll look at it in stages, which might make it look a bit unrealistic, but it will enable us to see the technique in action. First, size up the situation and note where the box is meant to finish up. Move the box away from the wall so you can lift it onto the shelf without turning around. Line up your body and get your weight poised on your leading foot. This prepares all the muscles for action. To avoid undue bending of the back, bend your knees as far as you have to in order to get a good grip and keep your balance. With this box, it's possible to get a hand around one side and the other hand underneath, giving a good secure hold. At the point of lifting, keep the box as close to the body as possible with comfort to reduce the strain on the spine. At the shelf, balance the box on the edge for a moment to rest the muscles for a second, then push the box into position, keeping the fingers out of trouble. Now, many of us don't do a lot of that kind of lifting. On the other hand, our daily routine usually includes quite a range of simple lifting and handling jobs where the body is not placed under serious strain. It's then that we need to develop good handling habits to avoid continuous weakening of the back, what the doctors call cumulative damage. For example, you obviously don't have to pick up this safety lock here in exactly the same way as you would the box, but you do need to turn your body towards it and bend the knee sufficiently to be able to pick it up without putting unnecessary strain upon the back. Similarly, in reaching across to pick up some papers or a file, take the weight of the upper part of the body on the free arm and then lean over like that. Now the question of age, skill and experience. This is important. When you're young and fit, you tend to feel there's not much that can't be moved about. At the same time, youth carries with it a degree of impatience which often results in accidents which an older person might avoid. They usually balance the limitations of getting older by using their experience. One thing to bear in mind is that we're not all the same size and shape, and some are much stronger than others. So some handling jobs may not suit a person's physical makeup. It may be that certain bits of work have to be reallocated or a modification done to improve the situation. We've made this film in two parts and have come to the end of the first part. Take a break now and go through the points that have been made. In particular, work out how they apply to you in your job. Right, let's do a recap. The points we've made so far are these. Many handling accidents can be avoided by greater individual care and attention. Looking after the body, particularly the back, means we spend less time unfit for work and we're generally better able to enjoy life to the full. To achieve these benefits, we don't need to be fitness fanatics, just be willing to adopt a reasonably healthy and safe routine both at work and outside work. When you're handling things, the risk of injury is reduced by making maximum use of the body weight and the weight of the object being moved to give balanced, smooth flowing movement without twisting the back. Lastly, in a long handling job, don't forget to ease the muscles now and then. It helps blood circulation and cuts down muscle strain. So far, we've considered the basic handling principles and then only the fundamental movements. In your day-to-day work, there's obviously much more to it than lifting an easily handled box from one accessible point to another. We'll be looking at the problems of awkward places and substantial handling jobs which you find at work in the other films in the series. Whatever these problems, we all need to develop and maintain a safe system of work. Now, it's true that in a number of instances throughout the industry, equipment and plant design create additional handling difficulties. To some extent, we may have to live with these. But modifications are sometimes possible, so we should always be prepared to offer practical suggestions through the supervisor. Generally, though, safety resources are well established in terms of equipment, codes of practice and training. The key point is this: there's still a lot of room for improvement in our own individual approach to the handling problem. What we must do is stand back and take a critical look at our own system of work by asking ourselves a number of questions. To start with, does this particular bit of handling need to be done at all? Now, that may seem at first to be an odd question. It's been done for years, so why change? But it's too easy to accept the situation. You've got to think a bit to find a better way. For example, in one particular store, the storeman had always carried gas bottles from the compound and issued them at the main counter, where the paperwork was done. Thinking of ways to cut down on handling, he spotted the unnecessary stage in the process, and gas bottles are now issued direct to the jointers or electrician's van at the compound. Assuming the handling work is necessary, the second question is, can you safely do it by yourself? It's sensible to get help where you can. And of course, it's not always a question of weight. The length of this ladder makes it very awkward for one man to lift. Thirdly, there's the question of aids to handling. Now, there's a wide range in existence, but it's often the simplest that are most readily available, and yet often overlooked. For example, the humble sack barrow is easy to use and very effective. These lifting handles can make all the difference between an awkward lift and a relatively easy one. Even if there's no mechanical aid available, we've got to ask ourselves, can this be done more efficiently and safely than it is at the moment? Now, we shouldn't be too quick to dismiss this question. It needs quite a bit of thought. The range of protective clothing and equipment necessary for the job is generally pretty good, but it can sometimes restrict your movement, vision and hearing to some extent. For example, when you're working in boilers. Suggestions by staff can sometimes lead to improvements in design. To complete the checklist, consider the immediate working environment and the handling characteristics of the materials involved. Now, these two very important aspects are well covered in the lifting and moving training package issued by the Electricity Council some time ago and still being used throughout the industry. What we've all got to do is discipline ourselves to reduce or cut out the hazards within our control, or take them into account and reduce their effect wherever possible. Above all, discuss handling problems with the supervisor to see if something can be done about them. Right, that's the end of the basic module on the principles. What you should be doing next is working through the module that deals with handling problems in your own area of work. You should get a small pocket-sized handout for each module which summarise the main points brought out. Well, can I leave you with this thought? We've got to stop looking over our shoulders to see who's going to solve our handling difficulties. It's a problem for all of us, managers, supervisors and the rest. And the sooner we get that message, the better.